The worst inflation rate that I can remember happened just 1 year before I was married in 1987. And the inflation rate was around 120 to 130%. And it really brought a lot of problems to the population in Mexico because the prices kept going higher and higher and higher while the incomes did not get any higher. So people did not have enough money to cover their expenses. Everything was very expensive. So there was not a lot of spending because of that, because you couldn't afford a lot of things. Basic needs were very expensive for most of the population. So that brought in a lot of problems. People not buying things, but also it was very difficult to plan ahead. It was very difficult to make any plans for 6 months, a year. The exchange rates were fluctuating like crazy. So a lot of people couldn't do any planning. They couldn't do any growth in their companies because the economy didn't permit you to invest money in new businesses or in your existing business because of a lack of spending, because whatever you produced, it was very difficult to sell, and your expenses to produce those things you wanted to sell or you wanted to bring into the market were very difficult to sell, again, because people were not buying, because everything was very, very, very expensive. So it did have an international impact because people, if they could not spend here because of the exchange rates, they could also not afford to buy things in the international markets. So again, the economy was very, very complicated in those times. And eventually, about 5 to 6 years later than that, probably in the mid-90s, the peso got so big. You had a Coke that was that was about 15,000 pesos per Coke. So what the government did was they took 3 zeros out of the peso. So instead of talking thousands, you were just talking 15. So the Coke that you used to buy for 15,000 pesos was now only 15 pesos. And that's when the new peso came about, and stability came to the country for a short time, and then it got in trouble again, but that is another story.